Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Monday. Wish I could say it was a victory Monday, but we're going to talk about the UGA game and just the strangest game I've ever seen. Um, I finished the deep dig and on the defensive side, and so we're gonna talk about it. There was just some real, abnormalities and hijinks, and I don't know what to say, but we'll get to it all here on the show. Cody made the thumbnail about a possible top target for Texas that has entered the transfer portal today. We'll talk about who that is and what we think about that guy. The Heisman finalists all came out today. We're going to get into some discussion about that. We have the Behind Enemy Lines column that Cody put out today over on Orange Blood. So we got the deep dig, Behind Enemy Lines. We got the game to break down. We got transfer portal happening with now 4 Texas players have entered to our knowledge at this point. We'll talk about those guys, talk about our favorite memories of each. Cody, how are you, brother?
Doing good, man. A lot of stuff, like you said, a lot of stuff to talk about. But thankfully, we also got 10 shows between now and Clemson, all this week, all next week before Clemson goes to Austin. So plenty of days to talk about stuff, plenty of topics we're gonna have to think about. And what better way to start than Transfer Portal Day opening today on December 9th? And we get to talk about that and see what happens.
Yeah, man. All right, so let's talk about this possible transfer portal target.
All right, I'll just lay the land here really quick, and I want to get your thoughts on this first and foremost. Before we talk about the film side of things, Tyler Mercer, number 56 from North Texas. He was a freshman, 6'4", 290 pounds, out of Prosper, Texas.
Center.
Sorry, good call. Center. He was an on-3 freshman All-American so far in 2024 at the center position. Coming out of high school, he had offers from I think he had no P4s. It was like Dartmouth, Penn, Army, Monroe, Utah State. He was committed to Tulane, decommitted at the last minute when he got an offer from North Texas, went to North Texas, obviously up there in Denton. He was a Rivals 5.4 3-star in 2024. He was a third-team All-State honors in Texas. He was rated as a 3-star by all Rivals, On 3, ESPN 247, and Dave Campbell's. A couple of the places had him as a top 200 player in the state, 124 in the state, 124th lineman, things like this. Not a high-end recruit. Obviously, he goes to North Texas, 6'4", 290 is what he's listed at. Alex, I would like to see what you think his actual height weight is, because it didn't seem like he was 6'4", 290. But I want to lay this out to you first. A couple interesting things here. Teammates of his at Prosper, now in college. So himself, like I said, goes to Prosper. He's a 3-star, 6'4", 290 center in the 2024 class. He also played along with Ellis Davis, who is at Texas Tech right now, a tackle. That was a 4-star at 6'7", 275 in last year's class. In this year's class, Connor Carty is signed with Texas Tech last week to play guard, 6'5", 295. So he's got 2 teammates at Texas Tech right now. He's also the teammate of 2026 offensive tackle 4 stars, Zayden Krempen, who we talked about just a couple weeks ago, 6'5", 275. He's a Texas target. He's been to a couple Texas games this year. And Bryce Gilmore, another tackle, 6'4", 275. So Prosper's going to have 5 offensive linemen in college football from the 2024, 25, and 26 classes. Also, the position here we're talking about is center, right? Because Jake Majors is departing. He's graduating. Jake Majors, listed at 6'3", 315. Alex, from Prosper.
Oh, I forgot that. So it's wild. What did you think whenever you watched his film? We couldn't find any 2024 all 22 for UNT yet. So
yeah, not
relying on some broadcast stuff.
Didn't have any all 22 stuff. So first and foremost, the grading as far as PFF goes, I know it's cocking me, but just to compare and contrast, he was a 61st graded center on PFF among 157 qualifiers. He played 565 snaps predominantly the second half of the year. He did start the year as a backup and obviously grew into that freshman All-American role at center. 68.5 overall grade. His run blocking grade was 78th out of 157. His pass blocking grade, 38th out of 157. He allowed 0 sacks on 359 dropbacks, 3 hurries, and 3 total pressures. Again, he's playing in the American Conference, not the Big 12, not the SEC. 0 sacks, though, on 360 dropbacks. better than nothing. Jake Majors, for comparisons, the 19th ranked center on PFF right now at 880 snaps versus, of course, Mercer being the 61st ranked center. I brought up Texas Tech earlier with his two other teammates. The Texas Tech center is a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. That is like the sixth best pass blocking center in college football, but one of the worst run blocking centers. I'm not sure that fit makes a lot of sense, though. The teammates are there, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what it is, 5 hours from Prosper, I think, is Lubbock. I do have another question about Lubbock. We'll talk about that later, though. Maybe tomorrow. It's a buy or sell. It's kind of a funny one. But anyway, my thoughts on him. I think he appears smaller than his listed height. Again, 6'4", 290. I think he's much closer to like a 6'2" and a half. If you got an official height on him, at least on film, he looks like he's about 6'2" and a half. Weight, is he 290? Maybe. He looks very small. I thought he had a decent anchor, but he's definitely not a stump. He's definitely not going to hold up against some of these 340, 360 pound defensive linemen from the SEC at this current stage. I thought he worked well in run blocking situations and creating backside wall against UTSA. He bursted out, I think on I saw three different like 50-yard, 40-yard, and 50-yard runs against UTSA and Memphis. He made decent blocks they weren't nothing that were like because of him. He played against a couple of bigger defensive linemen, Brandon Brown, 6'2", 320 from UTSA, formerly of Tulane, Jam Buxton, 6'1", 325 of Memphis. Bigger dudes. I wouldn't say he handled them, but I think he held his own ground in those two games. Didn't dominate, like I said. He would need to gain at least 15 pounds over the course of the summer and grow into a much more trustworthy from a strength perspective, I think, day one. I like the kid. I think he's got room to grow. I'd like to hear what you think when you looked at him versus what you've seen from Cole Hudson and maybe Connor Robertson to this point, because I think that's obviously what we're talking about here. Potentially Cruz, I guess, but we really haven't seen that. And then my last thing is I'm not sure he could bench 315 pounds. I could be wrong, but I don't know if this kid is even like a 315-pound bencher at this point, which is in the weight room terms, like that's for an offensive lineman, you should be hitting that. Do I think he's a take? Slightly. I got it at like a 6.3 out of 10, kind of as far as my thought. Like I don't think it's a bad move. He played well at the level of competition he played at. I'm not sure that there's enough time. He comes in December, January. You got 8 months to get him ready for Ohio State. I'm not quite sure I would be ready to, play this guy against Ohio State or the SEC right now.
South End Zone Queen, is TJ in the transfer portal?
I don't know. There's been so many today.
That perks up my ears.
He did 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago. There's also a center from Virginia Tech that entered. He's a multi-year starter as well. Center. Caden, not Caden Moore.
What did they hold on.
What the hell's his name? His brother's name is.
Let me just look and see this. Let me make sure it's not. So where did A&M have him listed? Did they have him listed as they have him listed as guard? Did he play this year? Do you have PFF pulled up?
I don't have PFF pulled up
because I knew I knew that Cam Dewberry entered, but I didn't hear about. I loved, it's like, and it isn't just a Westlake thing. I loved his tape out of high school. We ought to look more into the whole TJ. I'll kick around about that. I had no idea, but that really perks up my ears to hear that. You, as always, man, with the transfer portal, you have to take into consideration. It's like, well, why are they getting in? And you look at the Texas guys that have gone in, and we could talk about them. Individually later, but of course, most recently it was it Aaron Bryant most recently, and then earlier today, Tassilia Kana, and then before him, who else went today?
Aaron Bryant and Tassilia Kana, Gillette, and
Darren Gillette, and then Jerry Bledsoe went beforehand. Yeah. And you think about all those guys, and you're like, well, it's like you know, you don't think of it as much of a loss and stuff because you guys are all hyper informed. We cover the team. We're hyper informed about the team. You kind of know what the story and what the track record has been with those guys. I I wonder with TJ, he's only been there 1 year, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his stuff right now. He played left guard the last 5 games: Auburn, New Mexico State, South Carolina, LSU, and Mississippi State. He played center for a total of about 105 snaps. Notre Dame got a snap. McNeese had 30, Florida 53, and then Bowling Green he had 20. And then he moved over to left guard, and his pass blocking kind of hit the tank against LSU and South Carolina, and then he bounced back against Auburn. So his grades, at least on PFF, are pretty much in the toilet, but they got better since 2023, and he only had 16 snaps.
Okay. So wait. So he's in his second.
Seasons.
He's in his second year. Okay.
2
I
seasons.
get it mixed up, man. This is hard. Did somebody is this being reported that Finkley entered the portal, or is this just somebody asking if we think he might?
I don't know.
Let me just let's look and see here.
I have not. I'm not. I mean, I'm not gonna say I haven't seen that.
Okay, let me just go on X real quick and just see if I can just type Justice Finkley. Oh, while I'm here, let me retweet this thing from Orange Bloods posting our video. Okay, Justice Finkley. I don't see anything new about Finkley.
I think it's a question mark more so asking like, is he gonna? I mean, we've heard rumors of between 12 and 14 guys. There's obviously 4 in, so we'll see what happens. I think they got all week. We'll see what happens.
Well, for what it's worth, I was thinking the same thing earlier today and called up somebody to ask about it. And what I got from him is he's like, well, I don't know. Like he's like, I don't know. I'm not inside the guy's head, but he did say that he thinks that Finkley really loves Texas and really wants to get his degree from Texas. You know what I mean? He said if he thinks he was going to transfer, now Finkley would be a true, because he played as a freshman, right? So like he's a true junior. So if he were to play one more year at Texas, can he do a grad transfer for a 5th year if he played for one more year at Texas? Is that allowed?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think you can do a 5th year grad transfer. Yeah, I think so.
So I think that would be the more likely thing for Finkley if he were going to leave. But I could, or not me. That's not me saying it. That was somebody else. What they were saying, if they were trying to telegraph what Finkley might be thinking, maybe something like that. But the fact is, Texas is probably going to be losing. The number we're hearing is between 12 to 14 total. They're 4 in. So we'll see what happens with the rest of them. It doesn't take much to. Like, we're not going to get on here and talk about attrition and stuff because in some ways it kind of is.
It's going to happen. It is what it is. It's going to happen.
Yeah. And like Ketchum has said, man, dude, I got in giant trouble 1 year, and I'm going to come back to my thoughts about the Tyler Mercer kid. Right. But all this stuff, it all goes together. I got in giant trouble 1 year because I used to do this. I used to write this column, and it was a daily column, right? And I did it every day, but it was really, really short. It was short. It was called the Daily Short. It was like 400 words, right? Just really, really short little column. And one day I did, and it's just, you can tell, like, especially during the summer and when there's no spring football going on and stuff, it's really hard to think of something to write every single day about the Texas Longhorns football program, right? And so one day I'm just like, maybe I'll write about attrition candidates or guys that could end up the guys that could end up transferring. And this was before the age of the new transfer portal and stuff. And I put that thing up, dude. I got a phone call immediately from Catch asking me what the heck I was doing. You know what I mean? And he's saying, you can't just do that. You're throwing kids under the bus, saying, you know what I mean? Like, these guys are working hard. Some of them probably don't want to put out there that they're going to transfer, all this stuff like that. And then it was only about a year or two ago, whenever Ketch started talking about attrition candidates on one of our shows, and I said, "Wait, man, I thought we're not supposed to do this." He's like, "Who told you that?" I'm like, "Well, one of my greatest mentors, Jeff Ketchum, called me up one time and asked me what the hell I was doing when I was talking about this." And he's like, "No, dude, it's all free game now because they're all getting paid. Like the portal's wide open. It's like it is what it is." But I still think it's kind of bad juju to put it out there and say, I think that this guy or this guy will or this guy won't. It's pretty obvious to tell who's who. But as far as the center, Tyler Mercer is like, he's not a take. He's not a take. Like if you watch you know how on when you watch the are you guys in the chat hearing like an echo of my voice maybe through Cody's speakers or something? Like it's something I'm hearing. I'm not sure if the chat's hearing it. If you guys could let us know. Um, the uh, the thing about Tyler Mercer is that he needs to go like he needs to go to Texas Tech with all of his friends. You know what I mean?
It would make sense, but
Watch the game versus East Carolina.
yeah,
It's like if you think he's got if you were sold on the fact that he has a decent anchor, just watch that game.
he's a Big 12 center. It's what he is.
Yeah,
He's not. I don't think he's an SEC center. That's what I said. How big do you think he really is? He looks to me like he's about 6'2.5", 275, 280, not 6'4", 290. He doesn't really got an upper body. Like he needs like 2 years of fill out.
yeah, and it's not a Kyle Flood pick. You know what I mean?
That's why you're here. I mean, you watch the lineman closer than anybody.
Yeah, it's just he doesn't have good pad level. He's not big. He's a catcher. He gives up too much ground. Once he does catch you, like I got to admit, he's pretty good with his leverage and getting his feet around and stuff. But you can't have an outside zone center that's a catcher. You just can't. You need an attacker and a mauler and a downhill phone booth guy, and he's just not. So it's like whenever you watch, election coverage on election night, like for the big ones, like the presidential elections, they got what's your guy on what's the guy's name? John King or something, or one of these. I forget what his name is. The one that, whatever, man. Like he'll say, like, look, when like we got Bucks County in, we got
talking about?
County in, we got. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but like that the evangelical vote here in this western part of the county is going to come in like this later. So I've seen enough. I'm calling it. Like with this guy with the East Carolina game, I've seen enough. I'm calling it, right? This is what I do. Like, I don't need to see anymore to know that that's not a Kyle Flood pick. It's just, he just isn't. Like, even if we tell ourselves the lie that he's 6'4", 295, which I don't think he is, he's just like, he's not an outside zone.
He is not bigger than Jake Majors.
Yep. Yep. So,
what's Cole Hudson listed at? Because like Cole Hudson, Texas, is he 300?
Cole Hudson, he's got to be 305, 310, something like that.
Yeah, they got him listed at 6'5", 310.
I doubt he's 6'5". But look, man, as far as the future of the center position and of the, like, I think that, looking into, like, kicking the tires and looking into players like this is going to be important, but it's going to, like, Flood's not going to do it. Like, he doesn't want to go out of his way to go to the portal. He doesn't like it, right? For him to go do this, it's going to need to be somebody big. Like somebody here in here mentioned Cam Dewberry earlier. Like, I could see a Cam Dewberry, a TJ Shanahan, this kind of player, dude. Those
SEC size dudes.
Yeah, well, I mean, and these guys that were like legit prospects, and I thought it was neat to see that this guy was like first team, like On Three had him first team freshman All-American. I was excited to see it, but it's like there was just in that Eastern Carolina game, man. There's just some disqualifying things. And look, I could be totally wrong. If I am, I'll come back and own it. I'm not sure Texas is going after that guy. I think he should go play at Tech with his friends. Like,
that's the thing is there's a lot of guys now that this A&M kid, if he played both positions, and you said he's from Westlake, the Virginia Tech kid, there's going to be a lot more entering the portal as well. This kid I just thought had an interesting connection, being the Prosper thing with Majors, with all the other kids that are in school, and the freshman All-American thing I thought was interesting. But when you're talking about arguably the most important either position or positions, which is the offensive line, defensive line, the trenches, period, the SEC, I don't think that the center position is one you're going to want to give up, 30 pounds on and just say, well, he's fine. He'll come along. I mean, he's good pass pro, like as far as the grades go, but as an overall center, a couple of years away from SEC level, probably good for the UTEP game, maybe next year the San Jose State game. But once you get the SEC play, I don't know about that.
And look, I mean, this isn't. Cole Hudson needs to get better, right? I mean, if he's going to be center, who knows? If it's going to be Connor, who knows? Like both those guys need to get better. But I think anybody you can bring, and who knows about Daniel Cruz? He could pop up and really do something. I loved him as a prospect. Flood loved him as a prospect. My buddy, I almost just told you where he was. I need to watch my mouth. My buddy, that's an SEC scouting director, said that out of his whole class, and what was that, the 2024, was that 2024 or 2023, I forget. I think
Cruz?
Cruz 2024. He said he said he wasn't the best offensive lineman in the state, but he says he's the most sure thing that he's going to come in and be good, right? Like, he's not the most upside, but just the surest thing that he's going to come in and be good. So when you have that, you have DJ Campbell, and I know I got to listen to a little bit of some of Ketchum's show earlier today, not the whole thing, so I'm not sure if he hit on it more, but he was talking at one point in that show about DJ Campbell, and they were hemming and hawing. It was him and Anwar, and they were kind of hemming and hawing about whether he's going to come back. I was like, dude, well, like, I think at this point we don't need to hem and haw over that. DJ Campbell's coming back, right? Right? Yeah. So, and he's not going to, from everything we've heard. Has there been anybody on the NFL side or anybody even associated with the NFL side that's giving you an indication that DJ Campbell is somebody that's on their radar?
No. And it's only went backwards, I think, when I've looked at the mock draft database stuff this year. I think it's only went backwards for DJ Campbell. Today, today his average draft position has dropped all the way to 389, which means he's not getting drafted in any of these mocks, and it's behind all these guys.
What number is Mr. Irrelevant? Is that like 250?
He hasn't been mocked. He hasn't even been put in a mock since April, and that was a third round twice. Would you say Mr. Irrelevant? That's 250, 250. It varies. 253, 254, 251.
It just depends on the compensatory picks that year. Right.
Correct.
Okay, so like he's not even being mocked anywhere. Yeah. Well, and Kenneth Cassidy in the chat saying that he's been benched twice. Well, it's not about being really benched. It's just about, Cole Hudson just rotates in through the whole game with him.
You're gonna watch the game, the offensive side back today, tomorrow, next day, whatever. Yep. I think he was out for the last drive of the game. I think it was the last drive of the game or the overtime drive. I can't remember which.
He was, man. I remember thinking to myself that
I was like, "What the hell is Hudson doing in there?"
Out during nut cutting time, and I forgot to tell you guys in the chat before we started, but it's my son's birthday today, and so I have to get off at 45, Cody, to go pick up pizza at this place because they close at 7.
Pizza.
Yeah, it's the one place he wanted. So 6:45, I got a hard out for
How come he didn't want Texas beef traders for dinner? He wanted pizza.
Dude, he loves Texas beef traders, but there's nothing that kid loves more than meat pizza with a bunch of meat on it, dude. It's like you can't.
Maybe you can set up some beef sticks on top of it, and
he would eat it. The interior of the offensive line is going to, the whole offensive line is going to need to, we're going to have to see, but we need to keep our eyes on these guys. The guy who we are saying, is this guy a must, top target? Tyler Mercer. I'll eat my shoe on the air if Kyle Flood gives him an offer.
Okay. So what's your 0 to 10? What are the odds they take him?
I think it's a 0.1. He's not, and I could be totally wrong. And I'm not saying that, he couldn't be a take. I think he looks like a pretty good player. They're just there's disqualifying stuff on the East Carolina tape as far as his outside zone stuff.
There's levels to it.
Right.
There's levels to it. I mean, he's playing the American Conference. It's not even the Big 12. I think his level up should be the Big 12. Yeah. I think we're kicking, when Sark said you got to get an SEC ready team to play in the SEC, it's no longer it's not a Big 12 roster, obviously. Texas Tech would make sense. So
yeah,
maybe Baylor.
it's like you said, levels, right? I mean, if you've been shopping for beef at the grocery store, but you should level up with Texas Beef Traders. It really is delicious. I mean, I don't know how much more I need to tell you guys about it. I mean, I think a lot of the value in it is just so many people here, almost a thousand people watching right now. So thanks to everybody for being here live, and just getting the word out about Texas Beef Traders is important because I care about you guys eating better food. I care about your lives being enriched by this awesome, just natural source of protein where it's just Angus cattle. The herd's never commingled with anybody else. Just delicious. No antibiotics, no steroids, no vaccines, no mRNA, none of this stuff, man. Just good, clean protein, grass fed, grass finished, processed right there on site in Mason. Unless you want the Piedmontese herd or unless you want the Wagyu herd. One thing I heard about the Wagyu herd from Iron Table, the 2 restaurants that got the Michelin stuff in Austin, both get their Wagyu from the ranch that Texas Beef Traders gets it at.
That Wagyu beef bacon is something.
Yeah, it's so good. And here's the best part: you get 10% off if you let them know that you heard about them through Orange Bloods Live from Football with Friends from me and Cody. And here's the other part: scan the QR code, go to TexasBeefTraders.com, see what you want to order. You can order it online, or you can just call up there and talk to Darren, and he'll put you together some stuff. If you can't make it into Lakeway to go to the shop, he'll just bring it to your house. I just don't know. I don't know how much longer he's going to keep doing it because a lot of you have taken him up on that offer, and he's having to go down to Pflugerville and Round Rock and some other spots. But he's out there doing it. He's out there doing it. So give him a call, man. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. There are guys. There's some true goats. We love Texas Beef Traders. Again, right there in the heart of Lakeway. Make sure and give them a call. TexasBeefTraders.com. All right, Cody. Can I just show you something? And just ask you one question, or it's just a simple one word question. How? How?
Yeah.
Can you? Whenever I was watching this back today, I said, I did not remember it that. How?
I think it all just happened so fast. Yeah, man. I think it just all happened.
Dude,
so
if Gilbo
fast.
just
Lucky.
Gilbo, I mean, Colin Simmons had the quarterback hit. Jade gets the sick interception, and you have nobody. You have flat-footed dudes and you have the one. What was that? Was that Lucky again?
Yes.
Gosh.
You know what?
Can I just ask how? Just about a few different things, or answer this question first, Cody. How?
Angles. If not for angles, and obviously the obvious answer is Gilbo. But if not for angles, I mean, Jade should be able to outrun him here. And like just purely cut the ball, gone. You're gone. But Lucky took the great angle, and it was I mean, that's just a heady play. It's what good teams make plays like that. Winners win. Winners find ways to win, and that's just part of the process. But I tell you, one of the most enraging things about this whole game was this play, because I will tell you, Alex, the whole entire second half, I could personally feel 2 things coming throughout the entire second half. One, I knew this kid was going to throw a pick because they were protecting him. He's running the football, which he's good at, but they're protecting him. And you could feel a pick coming. And then the Nate Frazier thing. Nate Frazier, you could feel a fumble coming. And they both freaking happen. And Texas is unable to capitalize on both. And it was one of the most aggravating things to watch.
It wasn't just that, man. It was... Where do I start? Okay, so let's start with this. Let's start with, and look, man, I'm sorry. I haven't got to talk about this yet.
Sorry.
The two of your big, if if you're somebody who, and I don't ever, if I'm rooting for a team, I'm cheering for a team. If one of their guys gets hurt, I don't ever cheer for it, right? I don't want to see anybody get hurt, right? But you could see a Texas fan when Carson Beck goes out saying like, "Oh man, we knocked out Carson Beck, awesome," or like, do you know what I mean? Or we knocked out Brett Thorson, like that, like he's an awesome punter, man. He's a weapon the same way that Woodring is a weapon. They have kicking game weapons, and that guy's out, right? And I would say both of those things that happened actually came back to hurt Texas. They came back to hurt Texas because Beck. Here's the thing about Beck: he's not very good.
Yep.
And I think if Beck stays in that football game, I think it might end up differently anyway. It's like, man,
I'm not sure Georgia scores a touchdown if Beck stays in.
Whenever Stockton comes in, and look, it isn't like Stockton's that good. I'm not.
I mean, he was a 5-star quarterback,
and he can use his legs and he can move around. He's pretty mobile. I mean, he was the one that got him right down there to the 1-inch line or the 2-yard line whenever he got his block knocked off by Andrew Makuba. But that was a good quarterback run. I'm not sure that Carson Beck would have been able to. He's faster than Beck. And the other thing was, it was like all week. It wasn't like Texas. It wasn't like Texas was like Georgia, where they were playing and so we got to get ready for Quinn and for Arch. They weren't like, we got to get ready for Beck and for Stockton, right? So it adds this new element where it's a little bit different. You could tell the defense was a little bit kind of off base, and you could also tell that the offense kind of really rallied around it. Even the defense kind of, there was a different energy. Like hey, we're going to rally around our backup quarterback here. Like you could feel a definite vibe shift. And then the other thing was, whenever Thorson goes out,
that was the most obvious fake of all time too.
I looked at my wife and I said, I hope they got the fake alert on. And then I look over at the punt gunners. I look at Manny Muhammad and Maurice Blackwell, and Blackwell doesn't even have the outside half of his body even turned to where he can even see where that outside stretch zone run lane is. He has his back completely turned. So I know that they didn't have the alert on. Like, how did they not
run motion either? The motion was the fastest dude in the damn stadium on a fly jet motion across before the snap.
Yeah. But
how's nobody just start yelling when that happens?
I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if Thorson would have not gotten hurt, there's no way that they run that fake punt at their own 29-yard line. And that drive started at 13 minutes and 42 seconds, or 14 minutes and 13 minutes and 52 seconds in the fourth quarter. Texas gets the ball back with it's like 4:32. They took 9.5 minutes off the clock with that drive. They got extended by that fake punt. 7 penalties on defense. You have Ant Hill that had generated production once every 5 snaps this season, generated production once every 11 snaps in this game. It's just things happen. Texas caused 4 fumbles in this game. Do you know the one that they recovered? The one that they recovered led to a stupid into the half, pitchy woo down the sidelines where they're just throwing it around, and they don't even. And Texas, the one that they recovered, it ends the half. Texas doesn't even get the football out of it.
You got a screenshot of that one too? Because if you look at that one, if I watched that one back 10 times, if you look at when Ant Hill runs that thing down to like the 35 on the right sideline, and he turns around and starts to pitch this thing, Michael Taft started that play on the goal line. By the time Hill turned around to pitch the ball, Taft was running 22 miles an hour down the center seam of the field. And if Hill hits Taft, it's literally all linemen. And I know it's a hypothetical. It was the play was what it was, but that was the first thing that came out. I was like watching Taft dead sprint, and I was like, oh my gosh, if he would have just turned around and actually whipped it like some Chandler Jones
style. Yeah.
Dude. I mean, that was
it's kind of hard to expect that. And look, Ant Hill
was a heady play though. I mean, it was on Anthony Hill's part. I gotta say, it was a heady play to at least even attempt it.
And he had a TFL in this game. He had a quarterback hit, but he just Anthony Hill didn't have he had one of his least productive games in this one. There were other guys that had great games. Makuba played great. Broughton played great. Simmons played great. There were guys on this team that played really, really good games, had some really big impact plays. But man, you get those 7 penalties. 2 of those penalties in a row were on interceptions. Ant Hill had an interception taken back because of a stupid penalty, that offsides. I think that was not Colton. It was Ethan Burke. The Jade had another one. Was that Jade's that got called back whenever it was? Forgot who it was down there that caused the pass interference on the backside. Was it Gilbo?
I thought Manny got one, didn't he?
What?
Didn't Manny get one?
Well, it could have been Manny. I don't have it pulled up, but it's just like, but both of those would have been interceptions, right? The one that just gets me the most is the 3 forced fumbles, especially when you got, dude, and it's like, I'm not complaining about the players. I'm not complaining about the coaches. The defense played great. They forced 4 fumbles. Like on one
They
of
were
them,
the better team.
on one of them,
Texas
Michael
was the
Taft
better
is
team.
laying on it like it's some kind of beach ball, like next to him at the beach, and he's just like Mr. Johnny on the spot, Michael Taft. He doesn't even realize the ball is under it's in his armpit. He doesn't even realize it. Yeah. The one that Benda caused, it was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. Cody, it's like he hits it out of the guy's hand. It goes down, and I watched this on 1/4 speed, right? So I see it, and I can't believe it. The ball kind of dribbles out like this. It hits the ground at an angle to where it just bounces directly back up into his stomach. It's like the wildest thing on Colin Simmons's. Whenever he's coming around the left side, whenever the left guard completely forgets to block him, and Gunnar Stockton is like this, and he's throwing it out on a little bubble. If Simmons would have had his arm come just over the arm instead of coming under, right? He had his arms, he wrapped up under his armpits. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, he caused a he sacked him and he caused a fumble, but as he hit him, it's like his energy and his force propelled the ball much faster towards the sideline to where it was an unrecoverable thing. If he just would have brought his hand over the top with his right arm, that ball's trajectory would have gone down towards the ground, and there would have been 5 white jerseys right there around it. It was like so many things were conspiring against Texas, and Bert Auburn misses kicks. Quinn makes one of the dumbest throws I've ever seen at a terrible time. A lot of Quinn's throws weren't even that bad, but some of them, especially at the very end, dude, I looked at my wife and I said, he's playing battleship football. It's like this thing where he's just saying, like, he's calling it out. He's like, B15. And it's like, it's like it didn't hit. He's just throwing it. He's just like hoping it hits. There was very little conviction with a lot of
Moore. Go Willie Mays this thing. Hurry up. Get down there and catch this ball.
But here's the thing. He also had good throws. There was the DeAndre Moore stuff. There were some good plays, but the wide receivers dropped balls. There was just like uncharacteristic things. And Texas was in that game until the very end. They were in that game until the final snap, where Anthony Hill fits up the run pretty well. Whenever it was like as sure as I was that was going to be a fake punt, sitting here telling my poor wife, Carson Beck comes back in the game after Stockton gets his bell rung with this bionic arm that he's been wearing the brace on the sidelines with all the ice on his elbow and stuff, his throwing elbow. And I'm like, well, if they just brought in a big fullback, they're not throwing it. Well, he can't throw it.
Everybody in the stadium, everybody at home knew they were running that football. And if you want to even think maybe you put like one dude out there in case he boot actions it, or in case somebody spills out and they run play action or something cockamamie, you send 10 dudes middle of I don't know. We just saw him last week, 4 plays in a row, goal line stand against A&M. And this was more obvious that they were going to run the ball than anything A&M did. And they couldn't even. ETN's a Longhorn killer, though, man. 5 touchdowns against Texas in 2 games.
Man, but
the rest of the year.
That's second to last. That's the other thing, was they weren't calling the holding penalties on them, dude. There was one play. If you guys, if you're on Orange Bloods, and you should be on Orange Bloods, you go read my column and look at the play I showed. I'm like, which is your favorite? Like, as far as the holding penalties on the right side of the offensive line that weren't called on this big ETN run. You know,
55.
you have Trey Moore throwing his arms up in the air. He's getting like he's getting his jersey pulled 3 yards back. So it's like there were a lot of things conspiring against Texas in this football game. A lot, like I just said at the end of it, I just at the end of the game, I've literally, Cody, I said, what did I just watch? What just happened? Because I didn't feel like it was, I'm like, Quinn didn't play bad. I mean, the running game was non-existent. And I got to put the offensive line under a microscope. But I mean, there were some penalties, but I didn't feel like they were just terrible. It was just like little thing after little thing, and all the penalties versus Texas and penalties in key spots, and that Jade Barron thing, man. I just look at it, I'm like, all that open field, and I'm just like, man, there was something. It's just it wasn't in the cards that night. But I will say this: I don't think now that we just think about. Here's the other thing: Arian Smith, their wide receiver.
He's a complete donkey.
But he's the only wide receiver that they caught a football in the game. This was all tight ends and running backs.
Yeah.
This Arian Smith out there jumping up in the air trying to catch footballs that are being thrown at his knees. I'm just like, what is he doing?
He's trying to
How does Georgia not even have any players that are like outside perimeter weapons at all? It's like it's all tight ends. It's all like Delp and Lucky and all these guys.
So that's the problem is that I love Dylan Bell, but he's had the case that it dropsies all year. London Humphrey, their transfer from Vanderbilt, was hurt, hasn't played most of the year. Michael Jackson, their transfer from Miami, was the first dude in the portal as soon as it opened up this morning. Arian Smith is healthy. The fifth guy, who's the other one that's out there? Dominic Levet. He's pretty solid, but they didn't throw to him very much. There's a reason that I did my behind the enemy line stuff, and it was like immediately like all the portal talk was Dane Key from Kentucky, Kevin Concepcion from NC State. Like Georgia's going all in on all these guys because they know they need wide receiver help. They need to go and continue to get. I mean, they also got Taylon Taylor, which is a 4-star borderline 5-star wide receiver in this recruiting class, because they know how bad the receivers are and how badly they need talent. They haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since what, 2003?
I don't know.
2003, I think the number was for Georgia.
Just trying to throw up the poncho outdoors there, man. Poncho is just the awesomest shirts, man. We're getting the Christmas order right now. I can't wait to get some new hoodies, and I'm getting a new denim one. Cody, I noticed that you put in an order for a flannel. That should be interesting to see how that goes. Guess that's probably more your style from growing up in Minnesota. Like some days it's cold enough where you really need that flannel. You could probably wear that around at the combine.
Yeah, I don't wear jackets. Like you have a nice like zip up jacket you usually wear to like the combine, stuff like that. Like I don't wear jackets. Like I wear a sweatshirt maybe around the house, but if I go out, I either have a t-shirt on or I'll put like something like a flannel from Poncho or a Western, button up long sleeve from Poncho, something like that on, because I run hot. So I generally don't wear, big poofy jackets and stuff. Even when I lived in Minnesota, I didn't wear big poofy jackets unless I was like on the farm or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're in a deer stand up there or something, you're gonna have to wear your poofy jackets even if you run hot, man, because you're gonna run real cold, real cold up there in the snow and ice. Hey, do you know a riddle my son told me yesterday? Speaking of snow and ice,
I don't know it, but I'd like to hear it.
Well, I'm not gonna just tell me if you think that this. Tell me if you know what this is, or what I'm talking about here with this riddle. All right. If it's brown, lay down. If it's black, fight back. If it's white, say goodnight.
I've heard the brown and black side of it, not the white side though.
What is it about?
Bears.
Okay, so you got it right off the bat. Okay,
yeah.
But it's the polar bear, man. If you see like if it's the polar bear, it's like it doesn't even matter. You're just dust.
I've never heard the white side of it, but I've heard the brown and black side of it.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of my son, man, it's his birthday, so we didn't get into much of anything that we were going to talk about today at all. But Cody, anything that you want to?
We do got to hit. We do got to hit the super chat before we get out of here. Oscar Elizondo, $5. He says Cade Klubnik would have returned that pick. Arch would have too.
Can you believe we haven't talked one bit we haven't talked one bit about Clemson or Kate Klubnik yet.
Dude,
Oscar
the thing,
Elizondo, thank you so much for the super chat, bro. They're always awesome to have you in here. Gosh, man, between X and YouTube, like almost 1,300 people in here right now. So the show's growing, man. It's growing because of you guys. It's thanks so much for continuing to tune in and watch the show. Sorry, I'm having to get out a little bit earlier today, but again, kids' birthdays they only come so often, and I got to get over there actually like right now because they're going to close. It's his favorite spot. So thank you guys for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna have much more to get to. We got college football playoffs to talk about, but we had to get the Georgia game out of here. We'll talk more about the offense and stuff whenever we do it, but we're gonna try and wash our hands of that because Texas still has its ultimate goals right there ahead of it in the path. The path. It could not be sweeter, man. Thank you guys so much. God bless y'all. God bless your families. Have a great night. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.